Okay, this is April the 6th, 2013. It's kind of a brisk, about 55 degrees. It's a good breeze of about 10 miles per hour, so it's not the best day to be working the bees, but this is an outyard that I have that has 5 hives. It had as many as 8 or so. Last year came out of winter, we had 4. One was kind of mediocre and died finally, probably a bad queen. Then it made splits and ended up with something like 12, of which one faltered during the year and then one died through the winter. So ended up with basically 5 here, and I have 5 at home on my back deck. So now you're looking at the 3 on one end. I'll scan across here and you can see the others, and of course there's the pickup with all the goodies in it. So what we have planned for today is we're going to start on this far end here, that hive you see right over there, and I'm going to break each hive down, and these particular hives have special bottom boards. It's a screened bottom board, and it has a area underneath that has a oil pan that slides in from the rear, and those little doodads on the front that shed the water off the front past the oil pan entrance, so that we don't end up with water in it. Those will be repositioned once we put the hives all back together again, once we check them out. Because you can notice that we got some funky looking colors on there. That's all insulation in pieces that's been tacked to the outside of the hive with a couple of drywall screws. Those will be removed for the summer, spring and summer and fall. These hives all did very well during the winter. I had one that was fairly not weak, but just not a very large cluster, but they bounced back, so it'll be interesting to see how they do once we get everything straightened out as far as the pollen patties, the syrup to build them up for the summer before the flow. This particular woods here has some basswood in it, so if the weather warms up we could get the basswood as our first kind of a spring flow. Last year got about 120 pounds off of 2 or 3 hives, and that was a nice surprise. Basswood has its own natural mint flavor as an aftertaste, the only honey that I know of that has that. So it's a really nice quality honey. You don't get it very often, not in Indiana. So this is Indianapolis area. So we're going to proceed with the breakdown, and I'm going to move this camera a little a little closer, so that you can actually see better what we do. I gotta tighten some things up here so they don't get moved around too much. So I'm going to leave it right like that, and we're going to shut this off for a minute and then come back at it and then get to work. Okay, so we're back, and what we've done is basically taken all the insulation strips off the top most part of the hive, except for the bottom brood chamber. I think I'm going to leave those on. We still have a little bit more cold weather coming, so just as an insurance. But everything above that, as you can see, has been cleared. If I look down here close and let you see that wire hardware cloth there at the entrance, those are bee guards. Those have to be popped off where they're stapled. And there's one there, and you see a little paper sticking out. That's residual paper from the bee pollen patties that I put on earlier. And here's another hive. I'm walking right in front of them, which you really shouldn't do because you're interfering in their approach. And Marianne here is my wife and cohort here. She's a good helper. And here you see a bunch of paper from the residue of the bee patties, and the bee guard's still on. Those will come off here shortly. She's taken the insulation, just held on with 2 drywall screws, just gently, so it doesn't take much effort. And as you can see, the hives are painted various colors, no rhyme, no reason. It's just whatever paint you get from the hardware store that's been returned because it was a mismatch, or it was a mismatch before it ever left the store. They sell it for about $5 a gallon, and I usually try to get the exterior grade, and it seems to work pretty good. Now these bees, like I said, this is the 6th of April, and they're hauling in pollen. I have no clue. It must be mostly tree pollen, I'm guessing. Tree bloom. Like I said, there are some basswoods. There are about 16 basswood trees here. If you get real close and look, you can probably actually see some of the little beggars coming in there with their little legs covered with their little pollen basket just covered. So you can see, I'll let you look at the flyway here so you can see all the bees coming and going. It's a really nice day. It's supposed to get up to 67. It's about 56 right now, so another 10-12 degrees, and it'll really be nice for them. So they're busy. This particular hive here has a little crack there and one over here that they sealed. They're using that probably for a better entrance with less obstruction than the one on the bottom. When I take those mouse guards off, I'll probably leave that one open for now since they're working it so good. But that's just some of the things you see in spring. Another thing you might point out is one of the things you always check for is animal damage to your hives. Look at this. Same hive. Now I'm going to follow this around so that you can see the back. Look at all along here where some animal, skunk or raccoon or something that likes bees / honey. And this piece of styrofoam that you see here is a slot I put in there in the winter, because if I can show you on the next hive where I've taken it out already, there's a slot there. And then this tray that you see here, step back so you can see how it works. It slides in. It's a full-length tray, and it holds vegetable oil, and that kind of drowns all the mites, the bugs, and everything else that's in the hive when they drop from the top or any of the boxes. This one has to be taken down to take some of the weight off that styrofoam so I can get it out. It runs a full length underneath. This was an experiment this year from the standpoint of the oil and also from the insulated hives. A little bit extra trouble, but you can't fight the success. 90% survival rate. One hive died. Probably wasn't that strong going into the winter anyways. Probably had a bad queen. There's one more here that I'm going to have to pull out too, but all the other pans are in, but you get an idea of what it's like. We'll pick up later. Okay, continuation from April 6th. There's the V-guards taken off the front of each of the 5 hives. There's your pollen patties. And the syrup is over here. And it has lemon balm and nosema medication. And I also use medicated streptomycin. And there's your syrup containers that go in the hive, one for each brood body. One for each hive, actually, upper brood body. And now you can see we have no more excluders. That's just the imprint on the wood. They're all open and off. And we have a big access hole that I bored in this hive for another purpose at one time, and they block that off with propolis and open it as they deem necessary, in which case they've already done that. So they have a bigger opening than the slit on the bottom. So now we'll start breaking down the hives to see what we got cooking, and we'll pick up from there. Okay, so we're going to start with this smaller hive here. I usually put the top of the hive on the ground behind the hive or to the side, so I can use that to set my super zone if I want to dismantle the hive. It keeps it off the ground and it keeps it crushing the bees. This particular top in this hive is a special top that I made for these hives. It has a big gap on it, as you can see. Leaves you lots of room for your pollen patties, and it came out here almost a month ago and put some syrup bags on, which is a simple way to feed. You just fill a gallon bag or 2-quart bag, depending on what you want to use, Ziploc, and then you lay it on top of the super underneath this special extension feeder board. You see this has a notch here for the bees to come and go, and also for vapor to escape. But as you can see, it sits on top of the hive itself, the box. Doesn't overlap it. That gives you this much room, which is about 1 3/4 inches, to put your bags and your pollen patties underneath. So now I'm looking down in this hive, and the cluster of bees is right here. But they're also bringing in a bunch of we're going to open this up and see what we got. Oh my. We got something we shouldn't have had, which is these those are used as a varroa mite treatment last fall. There's some drone cells. Get rid of those. But you can see this is really quite a populous hive, and I'm not going to break it apart below other than to tip it up and look at it to see if we have any queen cells or swarm cells. Because April and May are your swarm months,
So what you do is you just loosen your hive. I'm working from the front to loosen it. I'm going to just tilt it back. Pull it forward a little and tilt it back, and then look up to see if we have any. And this hive is just packed full of bees. Really packed. You could say it's brood bound. Not a good thing. So it'll be primary for a swarm, and I really should split it. But I don't want to do that. So need your help, babe. So I have a hive body now that has drawn comb. And I'm going to put that on here. I'll let them go up into that. And I'm going to put the super back on.
You won't put pollen patties up on it?
Actually,
You want a pollen patty?
no, I need a tank. Find a place to set it. Which is right here. Put your thing in there. Pour a little out of this under. You're going to have to hold this, but it won't be hold. All the way up. You see it within an inch of the top? That's good. It's going to take a gallon. That's about 10 of those cups probably, or more. So, I put another brood body on here, and I'm going to put a sugar tank in here that holds a gallon of syrup. And then I'm going to put the original super back on it. And these bees that are huddled here, even though it's warm enough outside, I'm going to cover them up to keep them from getting too chilled. There's no brood in that top section. Once we get the tank in there, we'll put that little super back on. And once the super's back on, then we'll button that up. I'll come back in about 3 weeks, maybe 4, and I'll split this hive. And I'll use this as a doubler. Grow the bee yard, the apiary. There we go. Now we got the gallon tank on. Take this.
Pollen patty?
We tuck this feeder top off.
Do you want a pollen patty?
Yeah, we could put one on, it won't hurt. Here's a pollen patty with the paper on top. You don't have to take the paper off, you just give them a little smoke to move them around a little. You just lay this pollen patty right down. They'll move out of the way. Just do it slowly. You got sugar inside, sugar syrup inside, pollen patty on the top. And that'll be gone probably. They're bringing in pollen, but we don't have too much pollen right now as far as bloom and that sort of thing. About maybe 20% of the bees are bringing in pollen, and it's very light, so that's early pollen. So now you've got that spacious cover back on top, and then the actual top on. I let some of my hives go into winter with extra supers on them because I don't have space at home to store them. That keeps the wax moths out of them. Yes, you could do that and it doesn't hurt anything, other than increase maybe the overall, I should say decrease the overall temperature in winter. But these are insulated hives, remember. Oh my goodness. Again, we have a feeder bag on top, which is empty. So they, in a month, have taken a gallon. This box on top, I think, is basically, I could be wrong, but I think it's basically empty. Yeah. Knock the bees off so I can really see. This hive here is, my goodness, jam-packed full of bees. Which brings up another point. When you have a bunch of hives in the bee yard like you have them here, and you have space to stand a few more empty hives, you put what I call a bait hive down. Use the bait hives for exactly what it sounds like. You bait swarms that may be coming out of your own hives so that they end up going into the boxes you leave laying around. And to make them a little bit more attractive, you can put I carry a bottle around that's got some diluted lemon balm, and I just spray the bottom box a little bit with that stuff. They seem to really like that. It's not a bad way to try to catch swarms to increase the size of your bee yard if you want to. I'll take a look at the underside of this. I'll tell you, I don't know how far down these bees go, but boy, they're all, we got about 1, 2. We got 2 full depth brood bodies. We got 1, 2, 3 supers. And I would say 2 brood bodies and 2 supers full of bees.
Do you want another?
So, and brood. I'm guessing maybe 40, 50,000 bees. Prime for swarming.
Do you want a syrup thing?
Yep.
Syrup.
No, I don't need syrup. So it sounds silly. You got all these bees and I'm going to give them more pollen. Yeah, because I'm coming back in a week, well, 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever. And I'm going to, what I do is I just peel the paper back and expose part of this pollen and lay it over the top. And they'll come right up and gobble that up. These I purchased, some I actually make myself. So it's whatever fits your economic situation. Artificial pollen is not the real McCoy, obviously. It's made out of soy flour. It's got brewer's yeast. You can, if you're making your own, you can take a couple of vitamin C tablets and some lemon balm, maybe about take a teaspoon of lemon balm for every, say, 6 to 10 patties, and 1 vitamin C tablet. You dissolve that vitamin C tablet in water, mix it in with your sugar syrup, and then add that to your soy flour and brewer's yeast, and that makes your own patty pretty easy. My right-handed, I've got to make sure I leave the opening in the front where it's supposed to go. I hope I did it on the other one too. I'll check it here in a minute. I did. Okay, there's my spacer. And then here's my lid. Now, since it's winter time, or not really, but it's spring and the temperatures are still cool out, you want to make sure when you put your hive back together, the parts that you put back, press down a little on the lid and the inner cover, just so that propolis will come in contact. The bees will warm it up this time of year from the inside out, but that helps make everything stick down. You get a sudden nasty storm through, you know, with thunderclouds, boomers, and wind and that sort of thing. You could lose the lid off of a hive and you can lose your hive. Because cold bees, wet bees, don't do well. So we've through with those 2. We're going to go now to this one right in front of you. Another one with a bunch of supers. You need to get that gun, take the screw out right here. There's one left over. Actually, there's 2. Cover goes in the back. Got a couple of leftover screws that from the styrofoam insulation. So now, we'll get the lid off this third hive coming down the row from this end, and we'll smoke at the top. We've got a secondary entrance here where there's another good reason to carry some duct tape or masking tape, or if you don't have that with you, you can always use some burr comb or some propolis, depending upon how much you can find. But burr comb works great to stop up holes that aren't huge. It's wax, granted, if they want it, they'll take it out of there, but that forces them to start using the bottom entrance. No bees in the top like the last one. Here's a super that has probably some honey in it, but after you work bees for a while, you won't even have to look in to see if you have honey. You'll be able to, when you pick the box up or even tilt it, you'll know. This box is basically empty. It's drawn comb, another syrup bag. It's empty for all practical purposes. And here's the drawn comb that has absolutely nothing in it. So it's a good way to store your frames in the wintertime without having to worry about the wax moth getting in there and other things and messing it up if you got it at home. So we'll take this one off.
Pollen patty.
I haven't gotten to the bees yet. Now I'm first starting to see bees, and I actually, believe it or not, I have a full super of honey here.
Do you want any pollen?
I've got a super of drawn comb. I'm going to just need some smoke. What I'm doing is just scraping off the burr comb. If it had been warmer, the top of the frame. If it had been warmer, I'd bother to save this. I usually just put it on the next hive top over, the one I've finished. And then I come back the next time and they've already cleaned it of all the honey that might be in it, if there is any. And then I just put it in my solar wax melter, which I have in the backyard whenever I need it. Don't ever want to throw beeswax away. It's a precious commodity and it's not cheap, particularly if you have to pay for it to put it in the box to start your bees. Now, this hive actually needs this super on it. We took one off, so we're going to leave this on. We're going to give them 2 pollen patties, and that's about it. One of the things you should notice is there's a gap between the bottom of the frame and the top of the next box frame. So I'm just popping this up, hoping the wind, well, the wind did. I'll lay this between the two, next to the bees, so they don't have to travel a lot to get to them. She's put this whole thing up for me, which makes it even easier, so get out of there, little girl. We just put it down like that, between the boxes, where they're more apt to see it and get it. And then put the hive back together again. So we're 3 down and 2 more to go.
Here.
And then I have 4 more at home. My wife got a new garden hive this year, which has got, it's an 8 framer instead of 10, so it's a little narrower. The overall frames are the same. And we're going to go with the medium supers all the way from the brood body up. So it's going to start with 2 brood bodies of medium when we get the bees, which are coming in another 2 weeks. And we'll do a video on how to hive a swarm. Hive a package of bees. I've done swarms, but that's done, and the patties are on top. I'm going to leave that opening that they have there the way it is, because it gives them access to the middle of the hive quickly, cuts their travel time, and makes for a better situation for them. Bees know most of the time better than we do. We think we know how to make things better for them. We don't always. So now I'm going to move the camera so we can get relatively close on this one. You'll like this one better probably if there's any bees in here. So we're going to come down to this one real close. See if we can actually give you a little bit better picture of what we're doing. So now you get to look at the bottom half of our beautiful bodies instead. These are very nice bees. I've been wearing these night-no gloves. They're all torn apart. You can see I took the bee guards off, and they're made out of that metal wire hardware cloth. And give them a little smoke in the front entrance and give them a little on top. There's a little vent hole here, escape hole. You always leave them a place to get out in the wintertime in case the snow and dead bees and what have you block the front entrance. You want to make sure they have another way out. There you go. Go ahead and take it off. Do the pleasure. Just lift it from that side.
Well, it's just...
Let it come back down again. This is my wife's really second good year in the bee yard. Now, if you look closely, you can see this bag here. What this was really was either a 2 quart, probably 2 quarts, not a gallon size, Ziploc bag. Okay, give me some smoke, babe. There's no reason to take them off, just smoke them off of there from the front. Well, we just pick this up, and you kind of just shake it off, and then we just throw it over there with the rest of the heap. We'll clean up the bee yard before we leave, which is another thing you must think about when you're a beekeeper. Bees are one of the cleanest insects you'll ever see from the standpoint of a hobby. And they don't like messes, and if they make a mess, they clean it up. Not a bad recommendation for people in general. You're supposed to be educated animals, sophisticated. Sometimes wonder about it though when you see the way some people live. Now, this particular hive was a starter hive last year and wasn't doing well. I requeened it. But it's got a full-size brood body and a medium super. You can't see it, but when I tip it up here, you'll notice that this does not have a large group of bees in it. This particular hive 4 weeks ago was extremely weak. It was the weakest hive. It had a cluster of bees about that big around, probably didn't even weigh a pound. And a pound of bees is somewhere around 4,250 to 5,000 bees, depending upon their size and whether they're starved or full and that sort of thing. But an average is probably say 4,500 bees per pound. So now, if you look at the hive, we've got 6 frames of bees covering the second brood chamber. Okay, we haven't looked at all at the bottom brood chamber yet, but we went from something that barely covered the middle of 2 frames, okay, to now something that covers the better part of the whole upper brood chamber. This is called a brood chamber, or a deep super, or a super. Any box on top that makes up the hive could be called a super. Super word comes from superior or above, generally the brood chamber. So supers are more used for when you're talking about the box that actually sits above where the queen lays her eggs, which would be these 2 here. The difference is that instead of using 2 deep chamber boxes, or supers if you will, on this one I used a deep and a medium, which is a good combination. It's not quite as good as 2 deep, in my opinion, for Indiana, because the winters are sometimes not so nice. But it works for most places where there's some cold, because it gives them a little bit more storage as well as brood area. So now what we're going to do is pop this open and take a look underneath. And basically, I'm guessing that most of the brood rearing is in this chamber, and this is somewhat new. And I said that this was a deep. This is actually a medium. Yeah, it's two mediums. I'm looking from not rose-colored glasses, but I'm looking through the screen here on my bee suit, and I'm also looking at it from above, looking at it down slant. So you can't see the size exactly till you get in front of it and take a look at it. So one of the things that they recommend that you do, go get that drill, babe. Set that box down over here. Well, you got bees there. Set it on those two boards. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is what they recommend you do with brood chambers sometimes to make sure that the queen always moves. The queen likes to move upwards from down. So one of the things I'm going to do here is, I haven't done it on the other two because I'm leaving the insulation on the lower brood chamber just as a protection for another cold snap that we'll probably get before April is over. I can remember one year it actually snowed the first few days in June. I already had my garden out and things planted. I had to replant everything. Beans were already up. So just enough to kill them all, and it melted in about 3 or 4 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse the brood chambers. That puts the top on the bottom and the bottom on the top. That way the queen is probably in this one. It looks like the most active. That way she'll start laying eggs in what will now become the top. Because we are going to reverse them, and at the same time I need to take a styrofoam slot out of this that I use for insulation on the bottom board. You'll see it here in a second. It'll give me a chance to see how clean that screened bottom board is. Okay, now, I'm working from the front to the back, which you don't generally do. Now, I'm taking this whole hive apart. I need one of those aluminum pans, babe. Now this is the bottom board here. This has got something you don't normally see. There's a insert in this thing.
This is May the 9th, 2013, and this is a beautiful Thursday morning, about, according to my video camera, 10:11 a.m., and we have just hived 3 packages of bees. I, with no bee suit, and Marianne, because she's a little bit apprehensive, and this is her first hive, did it with just my half suit, which is the top half, kind of protect her face because she's just a little scared. It's all new to her. She's been doing some reading, so she did an excellent job putting the bees in this what we call garden hive. It's made up of 2 medium supers and has a nice copper top. And I built the hive stand on the bottom as I did for these other 2. These 2 here will probably not stay here, but they will leave and go to an out yard as soon as they're filled up these frames and I add a super, which will take probably a good month, maybe 6 weeks. Everything went smooth. Marianne's now putting an oil pan in that little thing on the front. Hers is got a rather unique hive beetle excluder. I got it on the web. You can probably look it up and find it just by what it looks like. I modified how I applied it because we're using medium supers, and also we're not using the bottom entrance. As you can see, I'll give you a close-up. It's kind of closed off, so the entrances are all in that slot there. And in case you're wondering what that white styrofoam thing is, that's a fly-in obstructor. It comes down like, I'll show you, it comes down like this, so that the hive beetles cannot fly directly into the opening. So if I go back, I'll raise it up since it's daytime. You don't have too many hive beetles during the day. See if I don't tick these poor bees off. Come on, get out of there. Get. Come on, get out. Okay, there we go. But if you look into the entrance, that kind of a crack that you see in the front, kind of wander around, and then when they go in that bottom, they fall right into the. There's a learning stick here. I'll show you. I'll take it away. This crack, I'm going to point at it to the stick all along the bottom here is open, and when they go in that, they fall into this. I'll show you from the side. There's a tank that's filled with oil. And that's how they go. I took the oil out till the bees learn their path in. Once they learn their path in, we'll reapply it. But anyways, this is what it looks like when you have 3 packages of bees that you just put in. Now to take you around to the side here on the deck, this is a hive I've had here. This is its 2nd year, just to watch, my own pleasure. And it put out about 80 pounds last year of honey. And this is the yard. After Marianne did a bunch of weed digging, I helped some, but not a lot. And then we went and got 3 yards of mulch, which is a 8-foot bed pickup load and a half. And we, after everything was weeded, we mulched everything. This is a lilac, not bush, but tree. As you can see, it's on a root stalk. And this is its 3rd year, and it was in full bloom. It's starting to diminish now, and this smells just wonderful. And this is one of those, what do you call them, knockout roses that was probably, I could put my arms around it easily when we put it in a couple years back. Now it's huge. We're going to probably have to trim it with some shears.
Did you turn it off?
This is my solar wax melter, made out of a sweater box from Myers. And this is our deck. The gazebo on one end, an awning, and a picnic table, swing, more roses, another corner garden, and the bees, as you can see, are under a grape arbor, and behind the grape arbor is a red cherry and a yellow sweet cherry. This, of course, corner of the deck is a peach tree. That's a Reliance peach, the best peach you can plant in any cold area because it's winter hardy to 20 below. This is a giant. This is about its 8th or 9th year pear tree. And this is an Anjou pear. Phenomenal eating pear and canning pear. And there is kiwi and clematis on that side. Up some more gardens. And another look at the peach tree from behind. Now here are some side gardens on the back of the house outside the back gate. As we go up, nothing's in bloom yet because it's still fairly early, and this was a typical spring. Somewhat wet. They say the 6th wettest in Indiana history. And there's some more of the side gardens. Some dwarf phlox that we started 3 or 4 years ago, and it's kind of spread and it really looks nice. And there's some Russian sage, which smells a lot like lavender. And then this little tree that you see here, this is its 3rd year. This is an Asian pear, and it is just loaded. I'll take you up close and personal here if I can, if it'll keep its focus, and point to some bloom there, some young pears. Here's one. These are Asian pears. They are in the shape of an apple, and they don't taste much like a typical American pear. They're a little bit more like a nice crisp apple when they're ripe. And this is the front of the house. As you can see, we haven't used all the mulch, but we got it covered up against the rain. I'll take you out front so you can see. Here's the garbage. This is garbage day is tomorrow, Friday. There's Old Glory, one of the prettiest sights you'll ever see. What a great land we live in. Here's another box rose that's kind of taken over the mailbox. Pull back and let you see how big it is. It's just getting buds on and probably be in bloom in about another 2 weeks. And here's the front of the house. As you can see, we have honey for sale. Last year we had close to 800 pounds of honey off of 5 hives, 5 producing hives, not too bad. This year we have a total of 14 hives. And some of the flowers, and again, more of the gardens. That's climbing clematis mixed in with a climbing rose. So when it blooms, it's really kind of cool. You have clematis and roses mixed. It's a red rose. It's really pretty. Some more dwarf phlox. And as you can see, here's the other side of the yard. And that's honeysuckle growing on the top of that arbor that you walk through, gate arbor. And see these 2 little bushes here? Those are filberts, as what most people call hazelnuts, because I happen to like hazelnuts. And this tree you see that I'm now showing you in the front yard was a 4-fer, meaning it was 4 fruits in one. The other 3 died, and I end up with 1. This came out of Washington State, and it's a Shiro plum. It's about, well, you could hold it comfortably in your hand, in the palm of your hand. It's a nice sized plum, kind of oblong, and it's very, very juicy, and it is a yellow in color. Green when it goes to size, and it turns a pretty yellow when it's ripe. And they are delicious. Last year we had about 80, and they were not very juicy because we had this was a 2nd year drought last year. We had 600ths of an inch of rain over a 3-month period of summer. So we did a lot of watering, never lost a tree, but fruit was affected obviously. But good pears, and we had decent peaches. So this year I expect the crop overall to be down because of that. And this is the rest of the garden as we walk up toward the back gate on the other side of the house. And we are back to the hive that I started with. And going around, see Mary Ann here. She's doing what she does best, which is watering the different plants and what have you. And there's my little friend Chloe, who's learned about bees already, so that's why you see her behind the hive, not in front of the hive. Bees, when they go after dogs, like to burrow underneath their belly and get them in the face, so it's generally not a nice thing for doggies, but doggies learn, and they're very conscientious, so she usually sits with me on the swing, and as long as I'm there, she's fine. So that's what we've done today so far. We'll talk at you later. G. Wooster. You can find my listings on YouTube under the same title, G. Wooster or GM Wooster, if you want to see what else I've got to say or got to do. Talk at you later. Bye-bye.